Welcome to the Gen Z Journey, where we work with you through an entrepreneurial lens to build a wholesome perspective on life and build both our business and personal dreams together. Join our community on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Gen Z Journey. So, hello and welcome to another Gen Z Journey podcast. You're back with us today, and we're recording on a Tuesday evening, but this podcast is going to be released on the Wednesday. And, I'm super pumped today, so I apologize if I'm a little bit over energetic. Today, the podcast just hit 1,000 downloads across all platforms, so I'm super excited. I'm celebrating with my English sausage rolls, and if you can't see them, it's because you're listening to us, and you can go and watch us on YouTube, so go and watch us on YouTube. But yeah, we're back today with another discussion podcast. We're talking about this week's mindset topic, and that is the abundance mindset. And I actually wrote the article this week, so we're going to have a slightly different dynamic on the podcast where Aaron's going to be asking more of the questions to me about kind of my intentions behind the podcast and etc. But without further ado, let's get straight on with the podcast and jump into this week's article.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction, Rio. As you always start, let's ask, what's your intention behind writing this article?
Sorry, let me just finish eating my sausage roll.
Still celebrating, huh, Rio?
I am. I'm still in party mode, sorry. So my intention behind this article was really just to bring to life what the abundance mindset was for people, because I know personally for myself that this idea of abundance had not been taught to me when I was young, and that's not necessarily my parents' fault or anything like that, but I didn't really understand it. And then when I read the book that I actually referenced in the article, and I have it here actually, this book, it's called The 10 Pillars of Wealth, and it's by Alex Becker. And I read that book, and it spoke about this abundance mindset, and it really opened my mind to a bunch of different things and limiting things that had been limiting my progression in different areas. And I realized that actually my parents hadn't just completely abandoned the abundance mindset. They'd taught me in certain ways, but there was other ways that was really kind of limiting me from where I was going. So I wanted to try and do that for people through this podcast and kind of open their eyes to that, and that's why I wanted to make this theme for this week abundance, and also obviously write the article on it. I think I wanted to just bring Joe on this as well, because I think one thing Joe has an absolute abundance of is energy, and he's really taught me about that idea of abundance of energy and just that abundance
Live
of
with
enthusiasm.
passion.
Exactly. So take that away, Joe. Tell me more about that abundance.
You know what? The abundance, it's the full of life, whether it's business turns into a lifestyle, and you just have energy behind you because of your passion going through setting goals, achieving them, and then maintaining them, and then coming back, just like how you started this podcast. I'm full of energy. So
I think Joe must be a little bit tired there. What was that? Maintaining. Love it.
That's awesome. So, you touched a little bit about that abundance mindset, and, one of the main obstacles for me personally is sometimes, I think in that sense of scarcity, but because I want to be able to, push myself to achieve it before someone else does. So in that sense, why is scarcity a bad thing?
Yeah, so scarcity in general is a bad thing, or I view it as a bad thing, and from the books I've read, generally people find it as a bad thing, and the reason behind that, I think, is just it causes you to live and make decisions out of fear, and that generally isn't, unless it's of actual danger to you. Sorry, I'm going off kind of on a little tangent on this, but it's still to do with mindset. But there's a huge kind of area of thought of where fear is useful and where it's not useful. We have genuine fear, which is useful, like you're not going to go and jump off a cliff without any harnesses, or because that's genuine fear and it could cause damage to you. But then we can place fear in as an obstacle to us in a lot of different ways. We could place fear. I could have, at the start of this podcast, when we were going through this process, Aaron, we could have placed fear of, oh, what if we don't reach as many people as we're hoping, and we could have put that fear in the way, and that would have stopped us. And that goes back to that idea of scarcity. If we were like, oh, what if we don't reach as many people, that's because we're fearful that there's not enough people out there that are looking or trying to do the same stuff as us or interested in the same things, when actually there's billions of people in the world, and the chances are that you'll find a good few that are interested. So yeah, just having that abundance, and instead of that scarcity, is really allows you just to open up life and see the possibilities of it and be creative with it, because anything becomes possible, quite literally. Because there's that's one thing. Just as a side note, from me going from the UK to the US, what I realized just in terms of and obviously where I was living in quite a rural area in the UK, and I was on a little island, so I knew a lot of people, but it seemed like it was a very small population. And then I came over to here to the US, to California, and there's millions and millions of people just in my county. And I realized, whoa, there's huge possibilities for anything, to sell stuff, to market anything. So that for me was a big point in understanding that there's not scarcity, there's actually loads out there.
Yeah. And speaking of the idea of scarcity, how does that kind of work with you in business, Joe? And having that fear factor versus having that faith factor in yourself, and just hoping things go well and not having that fear.
Again, it's how you apply it. You want to have fear because that's a self mechanism. It's a survival. So done properly, not growing your business too fast, okay? And you're fearful for losing customers. That's probably a good thing. But just to sit on the sidelines and say, "Oh, I don't think that this is going to work," that's not good scarcity. And I think that's a pretty simple example. And so that's where you want to move on and be very careful of how you use that.
And I wanted to ask you, Joe, as well. I think this comes, and I wanted to ask your opinion on this because I wasn't too sure, but I think it comes into your ethics of business as well.
Oh, absolutely.
You think, because like you were saying, is that fearful of a fear of growing your business too fast is genuine as well, because you lose
Correct.
the reputation and the connection with the people that you have in the beginning, and that's because I would say, Joe, because you've got a very ethical way of running business, but someone may not care too much about that and not have that fear. So I would say it's definitely much to do with kind of ethics of business as well. Would you agree?
I totally agree with that. And running behind that, if that's what you're using, you'll be very, very successful. Because and here's another thing. Sometimes you run that line so close. Is it ethical within the law? But then it doesn't pan out at the end. So yeah, that's a very good example. And again, being fearful is a good security thing, and we as far as our company hang on to that, and I think that's been a guiding light all the way through our career. So good point.
Awesome. And that's awesome, and that's a good perspective on business and everything. And so now I want to turn the podcast a little bit more onto the personal side of things. So Rio, you mentioned in your article that limitation of spending and saving very wisely in order to be able to grow your wealth. How is that a limiting mindset in terms of being able to actually create that wealth?
Yeah, absolutely. And as well, I just want to point out that the book I mentioned earlier, that 10 Pillars of Wealth, is a great resource for this. I don't want to take credit to, well, I did add my own stuff to it, but definitely that explains this really, really well. But as a quick overview, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. As kids, we're taught, how to find good ways to spend your money. Find the deals, do this. That's a good way to save you money in the long run because you're getting a deal now. And I don't know about you guys, but as I've gotten older, I found that, oh my God, there's deals all the time everywhere, and they're just deals. They're not actually deals. It's just a good way of marketing.
Kohl's was actually sued for marking up prices and then slashing them and putting a sale price, but in reality that was the regular sale price of all time. So they actually faked it and got a lawsuit for that. So it's a pretty serious way of marketing to people, and it actually does make people feel like they're always getting a deal.
And I mean, you just walk up the outlet mall here in Livermore and there's a sale on 24/7 for any reason. Oh, it's a Tuesday, there's a sale on. That's literally it. So definitely.
No, that comes back to the ethics that you were talking about earlier and walking that fine line. That was a great example, Aaron. Great example.
Absolutely. But just back to that idea of kind of scarcity with money and stuff. So we're always taught to save, whether that be when we're buying something or save when we receive money, And don't get me wrong, saving is great. Saving is good and we should do it. But it's all about the mindset that we have with it. So then, what that teaches us is that actually, if we've got to save money all the time, that means there's not enough money out there for everybody. So, when we get our piece of the pie, we have to save it. It's like in the war when you get your ration, you got to ration it well and make it last as long as possible. And that's that mindset. And that's because you're in a war and you're receiving rations and things are scarce, right? We're in a pandemic, but things are not scarce. We can get hold of everything. We can still purchase things.
We can buy one toilet paper at a time.
Exactly. Toilet paper is maybe scarce. But then just adopting that abundance mindset changes your mindset with money. And now that's not to say like, oh, don't save, spend all your money because there's plenty out there. It's not that. Definitely, manage your money well. But it's also about just this idea that, instead of thinking, right, how can I go and find that deal today and save my money? Or how can I just save an extra 5% of my income today? It's actually, how can I go out and how can I make money today? And what creative way can I find? Because the likelihood is that you're actually going to make way more money with that sort of mindset than if you were saving a bunch and trying to use different vehicles to get you where you want to go, And I think Aaron, you kind of can speak on this as well for sure.
Yeah. So a good way to actually put that would be, think about, let's say you have $100,000 and you want to save 5% of your income, and so you do. So now you have an extra $5,000 to spend. But let's say you end up actually instead saying, I want to increase my income by 5%. Now you can not have to find that deal, and you will still have an extra $5,000 in your life, buying the same things you would in your everyday life. And so then you actually implement both at the same time, and you get a discrepancy of now $10,000 that you save. So if you actually have the mindset of abundance, you'll be able to instead create more wealth for you in the long run, because you're expanding how much you can work with.
Excellently put there, Aaron. Very good.
Yeah, one of the ways, I just wanted to jump on that as well, is like one of the ways that, I don't know, this is maybe way out there and just the way my mind works, but like with that example of Aaron gave of that $1,000, instead of looking back at like, okay, I got $1,000, how can I like sort that out? How can I organize it? Instead of looking back at the $1,000, if you look forward and you look at like, okay, I got $1,000, how can I get to like 2,000? Like if just that simple way of looking at it, if you just project it forward rather than looking back at it and trying to do, like, I don't know, for me that just works. I just look at things like that instead of looking back and looking at the legacy of it, just looking forward and how you can project it into the future. Now, that might be super out there and whack, but there you go. That's just my kind of opinion on it.
Definitely. And so, then my last question would be, before we end this, would be, where's the balance between really learning to make money, save money, and creating a cash flow for either a business or even on your personal level?
Yeah. So this is kind of one of those questions where, people get really annoyed because it's like, it's whatever you make it. You know, it's a very unique situation, and we've all got to kind of make it for ourselves. And we've got to find that balance for ourselves. But being more informed about each different thing, about the abundance, about saving, about managing your money properly, all of those different things, like we do here on Gen Z Journey, then being informed about all of those things means that you can get that balance right a little bit more, I believe. So in terms of the abundance side of things, like I said before, it's just developing that relationship with money, that it's not limited. And one of the big things I think for our generation, and that I found is just so key, and something actually that Joe just completely embodies, and that is that idea of chasing value. And that means not just monetary value, but chasing value in which you can provide to other people, you can give to, whether that be through just making someone happy, just making that phone call to that person today to see how they are, whether that be building a business around providing value for people, you know, building the Gen Z journey where we bring the message of entrepreneurship to people, which we perceive as hugely valuable and an amazing mindset to have. You know, that we are built around that value of just genuine value from people to people. It's not transactional. It's not, I'll do this for you and you do this for me. It's just built around that value. And I think in terms of money and finding that balance, you'll find that a lot easier if money is not the object, you know. A great quote from one of our previous guests on finance, Jedediah Collins, is that money is a vehicle to where you want to go, not the end goal, right? So find that thing that's valuable and chase that, and then the money will follow. You know, it's that brilliant idea of enjoy life, love life. I actually put this in the article as well, is that it kind of fits into a theme that I've found is kind of developing on this podcast as well, is that actually if you have a passion for life with whatever you're doing and whatever you are on your journey, then you're going to attract people, positivity, happiness into your life, and that just all adds to the balance, I believe. But yeah, Joe, maybe Joe, you speak on that as well.
You said it very, very well. I mean, that's exactly it. The more you put into it like that, everything, it just grows and grows and grows upon that. And again, the money definitely will follow. And then I want to go back to how you begun this. We apply systems to everything, and then we watch the systems get bigger. So earlier when you say you put $1,000 away, believe it or not, you work on that system, it will grow by itself also, because you've got an automatic system of things going into it. So
It's funny that you say that, Joe, because I actually have been reading a book right here that I have. It's about the person who solved the market using pretty much quantum algorithms. And one of the things is, it really made me realize that it's not always about having the best skills and about the best things, but it's actually about creating the best system that you can implement and grow. And that goes for anything. It's whether, if you do it in your life, if you do it in any kind of business, all entrepreneurial ideas, a lot of the times it's building some sort of business to solve a problem. And so that, that's an awesome thing to think about. And honestly, it's a big part of the abundance mindset. It's how can I add to my system at all times to continue to make it grow.
I got to say this. I'm sorry. I know we're running over, but I got to say this. To our listeners, get this. We have recommended at least 3 books. We've wrapped it up in 20 minutes, and we're giving you such I'm standing up doing this podcast right now. I'm so excited. I'm just like, and for you to turn around, Aaron, I just read this book. Oh my gosh, I'm just over the top. Somebody's going to have to probably do a lot on the volume there, and I really apologize to our engineers. I really do. They're going to hate me tonight, but anyway, such value, and this is not pre-recorded, folks. So I got to tell you that. And that, Aaron, you just pleased me. and really the concept of what Gen Z has just done has definitely proven itself to the world. I'm stoked right now.
Joe is so amped. I love it.
I'm
I love
awake
it.
again.
I'm glad that's how we're gonna get to end the podcast. with that being said, I'll pass over the torch to Rio now so he can close this.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think Joe ended it there just perfectly in terms of how we feel about our journey, and today was a huge marker for the Gen Z journey, and a big one to kind of mark. And we're, as you can tell, we're super happy from where we are. We're super happy from where we're going. Please check out the article that I wrote this week. I apologize for the bad grammar and sentence structure. Definitely they don't compare to Aaron's literacy, but anyway. But yeah, just go and check out the article so you can hear more on what we spoke about today, and read it fully, and it's a bit more informative. And then you can go and find this podcast on YouTube as well if you want to see my sausage rolls, because they were real good.
Also, as you see for the first time, if you're watching this, Joe and Rio are wearing merch, Gen Z Journey merch. So it's the first of our merch. And if you guys are interested in getting Gen Z Journey merch and you want us to put that on sale on our website, please comment or DM us and tell us that you want some.
Do it.
Awesome.
And I also wanted to add that stay tuned for Friday's release as well with our wonderful guest. We won't release their name yet, but stay tuned for that at Friday at 12 p.m. and not 12 a.m. I got it right now. 12 p.m. There we go. But also awesome. So we'll finish as we always do. Cheers for now. As always, head over to the Instagram and Facebook at Gen Z Journey, where you can get an inside scoop of what's going on behind the scenes, as well as seeing the exciting guests that are coming on for that week. But above all else, thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate all your participation, and we're excited you're on this journey with us. See you next time.